Good morning, good afternoon, good night. What's up, y'all? Don't shoot the messenger, but the girlies don't like when us nail techs do short nails and they fat, they thick. Cause what's all that about? That's not necessary. I understand you want to build an apex, get structure, but baby, why do them nails look like mountains sitting on top of the nails? And I'm talking to myself too, because I know the way I used to do nails about 2-3 years ago, those little nails were so thick, my square was giving duck, like it was just a mess. Actually, let me include a picture so y'all know what I'm talking about. Very misshapen, very fat, very ugly. I can talk about myself, but y'all can't, okay? But nonetheless, this is where we are now, okay? So pay attention to this video. Doing this part of the nails, we're doing the same as usual. We're going in with our sanding band. We're doing our prep, removing the debris, adding the tips, cutting the cuticles, cutting the tips, and prepping as usual with the dehydrator and primer. Do the same thing that you would do for any tip or any full set. Okay, so when making sure your nails aren't thick, I believe it starts here. And I do this for all nails, but watch what I do. I cut the cuticle, and then after that, I'll cut the sides of the tips to make sure the nails can blend very, very seamlessly. Now, a lot of people do this with their sanding band, and I go back with my sanding band too to make sure it's perfectly blended, but this helps as well because some people don't like to, file too much when they're blending the nail, but you want that nail seamless. So go ahead and cut that plastic off, babes. And then, like I said, go in and blend the tip, and this is when we make sure everything is completely seamless. So it's basically like you're doing an overlay. Once that tip is very blended to the natural nail, you're basically doing an overlay now. Okay, so I'm going in with my classic, Valentino classic nude. And I'm putting a small bead. Okay, because remember, the nails don't need such a large apex. So I'm going in with a small bead. And I'm using it to cover most of the nail. I could have did the one bead method, but yeah, I'm not the best at it. It's hit or miss. Sometimes I can do it, sometimes I don't. So when I do short nails, I just opt to do sometimes I opt to do a 2-bead method, and I'll just put a really skinny / flat bead, and making sure I'm turning the nail to the side a lot, because I like to look at the nail from the side to see how thick I kind of made it. It helps me to see if I need to move the product down or build a bigger apex or flatten that apex out, see what I need to do. So like I said, we're gonna go in with a tiny bead. Oops, got on my clothes. Tiny bead. You can do the 1-bead method if you want. I don't want to do it. But pushing that bead up to the cuticle, making sure it's flat. Making sure the top of the bead, even though it's not the cuticle bead, I'm still sealing it to the nail so it's good and flat. Emphasis on flat. Now, if you do mess up this part, well, not mess up this part, but if you don't do it as flat as you can, of course you can go back and fix it with the drill. So have no worries, because I was a drill warrior. Oh, that was my phone. I was a drill warrior. I knew that no matter how I applied this acrylic, I was gonna go back and fix it with a drill. And then as you can see, I take my brush and I go around the cuticles to make sure everything is clean. So when I do go back in with my panel 5-in-1 bit to seal the cuticles and drill the nail, I can actually get to the cuticle area and clean it up. I don't have to drill the skin. And the acrylic is sealed. This also helps with retention. Also, when I apply the acrylic, I always think about how when I was in beauty school, they taught us that the acrylic should be credit card thin. Now that's real thin. That's very thin. But it's possible. You put a thin layer of acrylic on top of the tip of the nail. The tips don't have to be as thick as the rest of the nail. You have to keep that in mind. But I'll try to get it as thin as I can, but never thin enough to where my client can tap something and it break. Okay, so when you go in and file the nails, you want to make sure they are as crisp as you can get them. Even when I file them at first, my clients be like, "Is this duck? Don't play with me." But I'm like, no, just trust the process. And after I finished, filing the sides and the bottom of the nails, I went back to make sure everything was the same length. So make sure you do that. Now, this is when you really have to pay attention to the nail and make sure it's thin. If the nails were longer, I would go and I would hand file the top to thin it out. But these are short, so all that is not needed. So I'm using my panel 5-in-1 bit that I got from Amazon. Love this bit, okay? It holds me down. It seals the cuticles and it debulks the nail. Listen, if you're a nail tech, get you one of these. I'm working with my drill on about 13 to 15 RPMs. Not too slow, otherwise it's going to keep catching on the nail and moving slow. But I go around the cuticle, seal the cuticle, make sure it looks super natural to the nails. Don't hold the bit straight down, but you're going to kind of hold it at an angle because you don't want to flatten out the cuticle area. You want to thin it, but not flatten it out. So that when you look from the side, you can still see there's a little nail there, but it doesn't look bulky and it looks natural. When you do the bottom of the nail, I go underneath the nail, clean that up, and then I'll go on top of the nail and file it to the thickness that I like. And then I'll use that as my guide for the rest of the nail and how thin I want to do the rest of the nail. Look how cute and natural that looks. Is that coming out of her nails? I don't know. But to make them really look like they're coming out of the nails, you really need to seal the cuticles and basically thin out the area. That's basically meaning thin out the area around the cuticle. Around the cuticle, not the cuticle or you're flattening the nail. It took me a while to understand that because I was flattening out the nails so bad. I had to go back and add acrylic. Nails would be breaking. It was terrible. Okay, for example, look how I applied the acrylic on the thumb. I have not yet gone in and filed it with my electric file, so I haven't debulked it yet. But some clients like their nails to be that thick. I don't really like it, but some clients actually like it. And the nails don't look super thick and they don't look bad. So, it is your preference, but also you don't want the nail to be too thick because if you slam it on something, now everything is breaking and we don't want that. But the key part is to make sure around the cuticle and the top of the nail bed is not super thick. Otherwise, it'll make the nails look wide, unnatural, ugly, stinky, disgusting. Like, it's not cute. And then when you're polishing, you have to make sure that you don't stack the polish too much. And when I say stack the polish, I mean like use too much polish in one area because that will cause your nails to also get thick. You have to make sure you swipe the sides before you cure. When you're doing your top coat, when you're doing your regular polish, just make sure you continue to swipe the sides because it can change the shape of the nail. We did a cute cheetah print design. Cheetah is in right now, y'all. I don't know what y'all doing, but if y'all not doing cheetah, are you a nail tech for real? I don't know. Cheetah, leopard, I'm doing both. Hey, don't be a hate. I'm doing cheetah, leopard, tiger, cow, all of it. Like, it's a whole zoo up in my shop. What you doing? To do the cheetah design is very, very simple. Basically, I paint a base. You don't have to paint a base, but I paint a base. I used a cream color. I did French tips. Go back in with your dotting tool. Get a shade that you like. I'm doing brown this time. I did pink before. I did blue before. I do so many different things, but I'm doing like a natural kind of cheetah print. So I did like a khaki cream base. Then I went in with the chocolate brown and I used my dotting tool to make weird shaped dots. And then I'll go back in with my black to outline it. You kind of like make C's on both sides of the dots. And that's what gives it that cheetah effect. And then we added the cherry on top, literally. She wanted a cherry charm, super easy. So I use my clear acrylic to seal big charms like this because I don't want them charms falling off. Seal it, put the acrylic down, and then on the sides, kind of get rid of the excess. Sticks like glue. No, it sticks like acrylic, and it's so good. So that's a tip for the girls. That's how you secure big charms. And then I just go ahead and use my Koopa top coat. Keep the nails shiny for up to 4 weeks. And I'm done.